here's Brody Brazil.
I totally realize this may not be the most entertaining video I'll ever make, but I also think it's kind of important to bring you, the baseball fan, up to speed on some new MLB rules for 2024. Now, to be clear, it's not like last season where the pitch timer was instituted and it was a bunch of change wholesale. These are just minor tweaks, but there are things you should know as you start watching Major League Baseball games this season. Number one is kind of a more established rule about widening of the runner's lane. And before I get into the text of the change and what this means, that's the visual of it right there. The runner now gets the entire dirt surface between the infield and foul territory. Anywhere in the dirt is the runner's lane. They still are going to chalk that extra white line in the second half of the base path between home and first base, but that's just kind of for looks and kind of almost like a warning track to the warning track, so to speak. The runner's lane is now the entire width of the dirt. The runner's lane has been widened to include the dirt between the foul line and the infield grass, providing a more direct path from the right-handed batter's box to first base. Previously, MLB Rule 5.09A11 required a batter to run the last half of the distance between home plate and first base between the foul line and a 3-foot line drawn out on the right-hand side of the dirt, right, which is the existing line that is still going to be there. It's just now you can have the entire space. Under the new rule, this runner's lane will still be chalked in order to keep runners from drifting too far into foul territory on plays where the ball is in foul territory, such as dropped ball on third strike, so the catcher is trying to make a throw to first. But instead of forcing the runner to be in foul territory right of the foul line, the runner will now be deemed in compliance with the rule as long as both feet remain on the dirt path between home and first. The simplicity of dirt good, grass bad will make for an easier evaluation by umpires. And it kind of makes you wonder, why wasn't it always that way? And I understand there was a second line drawn out there, and we like lines in baseball, but there is, something easier about dirt and grass when we're looking at this from afar. So that's one of the main things to pay attention to. This one's kind of minor, but it's also something you should know. The pitch timer reduction with runners on base. The pitch timer has been reduced from 20 seconds to now 18 seconds with runners on. It will remain 15 seconds, no changes there with the bases empty, and pitchers retain the ability to step off or attempt to pick off and reset the clock twice, those disengagements, twice per plate appearance without penalty. This change was aimed at getting back some of the increase in time of game as 2023 evolved and players became adept at circumventing certain aspects of the pitch timer. What am I saying by that? Games started out a lot quicker at the beginning of last year, and players and pitchers figured out a way to kind of sneak the clock a little bit, so to speak. For example, average games went from 2 hours and 37 minutes in April of last season to 2 hours and 44 minutes by September. So obviously, they liked the effect of the pitch timer and the result of it much more at the beginning of last season versus the end of it. But honestly, players are smart. In 162 games, they're going to figure some things out. So baseball just trying to tighten it down a little more once again. There's also some further changes: 4 mound visits per game, per team, instead of the 5 from last year. So maybe we won't get to that 5th visit a lot of times, but now you only get 4. Also any pitcher who warms up for an inning actually has to face one batter in that inning. I think it happened something like 36 times across Major League Baseball last year that somebody would warm up for the inning, and then as soon as the batter stepped in the box, manager or pitching coach runs out of the dugout, changes pitcher just to buy their guy in the bullpen a little bit more time, to really slow the game down. And what was the purpose of that? I know what the purpose is, to just buy more time, but to have your guy who you know you're going to pull out warm up, to have your bullpen get warmed up, it just seems like you're making up for a mistake you might have made, or you're trying to cheat the system. I like that. If you're going to have somebody warm up, don't waste anybody's time. They definitely have to face a batter. That's not a penalty. That's just how it always should be. Here's the biggest rule. I've saved the biggest, and I don't know if it's the best. It's the most interesting for last. It's called base blocking guidance, and it's not a new rule. In fact, technically not a new rule, but a new guidance on the existing Rule 6H, which awards the base to the runner when the fielder is ruled to have impeded the runner's progress while not in possession of the baseball and not in the act of fielding the ball. What are we talking about here? When you don't have the ball yet and you're blocking the base or you're putting a knee down, whether it's a player stealing second or tagging up from second to third if you're the third baseman, blocking the path to the bag with some part of your body and you don't have the baseball yet. Once you have the baseball, no problem. But in this case, if you don't have possession of the ball and you're not in the act of fielding the ball, you can't block the path to the base. The rule leaves it up to the judgment of the umpire as to whether a fielder is in the act of fielding a ball. That's another part of the question. Can a defensive player say, well, I was trying to field the ball. That's why I was trying to make the catch. It was too hopped from right field. That's why I was blocking the base path. The play remains non-reviewable, this blocking the base rule, and the point of emphasis only applies to the bases, not home plate, which obviously has its own confusing rule. That's another one I wish baseball would figure out. You talk about the clear path. What is a clear path? Can a catcher put their foot over the third base foul line? Just draw a line somewhere. Say the runner can have this, the catcher can have that. Obviously, they're both competing for space, and the throw might take the catcher up the line anyway. This guidance was deemed necessary in light of a recent trend in which the league has observed an increase in egregious blocking of the bases, most notably by fielders dropping a knee or leg down in front of the base while receiving a throw to block the runner's path. I won't name names. Some of my favorite third basemen in Major League Baseball have been prone to do this as a tactic, but it was legal or it was allowed. Now they're offering further clarification that this will not be allowed and the runner will be awarded the base. So those are the new rules for Major League Baseball in 2024. Like I said, I know this wasn't the most entertaining thing I've ever done, but I wanted to pass these things along to you. You let me know. Do they make sense? Are they a big deal? Does none of this matter to you? Do you like the direction? Because baseball has gone so many years or went so many years without much change. And now we're seeing a ton of change. The designated hitter in the National League, a pitch timer, the playoff format. Baseball is breaking away from a lot of tradition here. And in this case, they're kind of doubling down on the things that they have been doing in prior seasons. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me in this channel. And hey, if you've never seen me or any of this before, that's awesome. I'm glad you found me. Do me a quick favor. Go down and hit that subscribe button below so I can definitely see you back here next time.